Hey, welcome to Wednesday Wisdom. This one's pre-recorded, and my original intention was that when I was on holidays that I'll do this, but to understand the mechanics of how this Wednesday Wisdom happens on Tuesdays when I drive into the office, which is one of my office days. It's a 45-minute drive, and I normally think about, okay, what was really something that either got me on my soapbox moment the previous week or really stuck out to me, and that becomes Wednesday Wisdom. So rather than lose the thought process when I was coming in today, which today is Thursday, I decided to pre-record this so that you've got this for the first week I'm away. So today's Wednesday Wisdom is about all of these things that you hear in terms of trusts, and they make it sexy in the sense that, okay, buy in a trust and you'll have perpetual borrowing capacity. Technically correct, but let's look at the logic of this, right? So let's say I was a PAYG. I've then set up a trust to then buy in a trust because the mortgage brokers advised me to do this. There are a couple of things that need to happen over here, right? So the deposit needs to come from somewhere, and generally the deposit is actually coming from equity from another property, unless you're putting in hard savings in the cash, right? So let's assume that it's not cash and you're actually bringing in the deposit from your home. What the brokers normally say is that if you get an accountant's letter to say that that trust is self-sufficient, does not, it can maintain its own repayments, they can disregard that, some banks can disregard that debt, and therefore your borrowing capacity continues to be the same, if not higher, each time. Therein lies the problem, right? What we're not taking into account is the fact that if you're owning the property in a trust, in most cases in a family trust or discretionary trust, you will get all of the negative cash flow quarantined within that trust. So the trust would need to make a operating profit to be able to wash out that negative cash flow. Works okay for if you own a business, because you could raise invoices backwards and forwards with good accounting advice and wash that out. But in most cases, if you're PYG, it does not happen, and it's all quarantined within that trust. So you've lost the negative gearing. And if you look at, okay, typical property, if you took 100% of your costs into account and you're buying in good investment grade property, which means that they are usually in owner occupied areas, you've got negative cash flow between 10 to 30k per year. So if you look at it now, that 10 to 13k needs to come from someone. The trust is not making money, right? You can't generate money out of thin air. So guess who needs to come up with that 10 to 30k? You, right? So that would mean that from a family point of view, from a household point of view, each trust you're buying, lenders saying, yeah, that's all good. I've got an accountant's letter. This is not negative cash flow. It can look after itself. But the household is still coming up with 30k negative or 30k in operating costs for every property that you've bought. And so you do have, whilst the lending opens up, the ability and capability of holding onto these properties actually decrease, because you can't claim the negative gearing against the tax that you're paying. So bear in mind that whilst everything looks very flashy in the front office, you need to look at the mechanics of how things work. Look at, drill down and look at the nuances of what the finance strategy involves, and look at the reality. Where is the balance of the money coming from? So don't get caught up in slick marketing. Don't get caught up in fluffy figures. Do the figures to the nth degree and then decide whether it is for you. That's your Wednesday Wisdom for this week. I hope you have an awesome week, and we'll talk again next week.